After leading Z to a historic trophy haul, I knew it was time to move on. There was shock at the club as the news filtered through about my departure. As I said my final goodbyes, the board would have one final attempt to get me to stay. Sadly for them, my mind was made up and I resigned. There were a few positions available in the job market that caught my attention, but a few days later, a club approached me for an interview and I accepted their offer as the next part of the Journeyman Adventure will take place in Germany as I take over at Karlsruhe in the Bundesliga. As I begin in my new job, Karlsruhe have just been promoted back to the German top flight. Our media prediction for the coming season is 17th, and that means an immediate return to the Bundesliga too. Whilst at the club, I will also be working with goalkeeping legend Manuel Neuer, who is my new director of football. The board have low expectations and set us the task of avoiding the relegation playoffs. They also give me a transfer budget of 22 million to improve my threadbare squad. And so I got to work looking for players who will give us a fighting chance of staying in the Bundesliga. It probably should come as no surprise that my first signing as Karlsruhe manager would be a familiar face as I sign Gary Hunt. Yes, my American striker, who lifted the two biggest trophies of my career to date, would follow me to the Bundesliga. Next up, I was looking for a player with creative flair and settled on Jovan Zivkovic, who joins the club from Rapid. The next new face is a solid holding midfielder, Sadiq Fofana, who arrives from Red Bull Salzburg. The final piece of my jigsaw could be Daniel Althauser. He will be my midfield general. He arrives from Sturm Graz. With my new players in place, I begin to put the players through their paces and slotted them into my trusty 4-3-3 tactic as the new season fastly approached. This is the biggest job of my career to date, and the step up to the Bundesliga will be quite a challenge. I fear I could be in for a bumpy ride. My first taste of German football would be in the DFB Pokal against part-timers Bremer SV. The local press had it down as a foregone conclusion, saying Bremer SV might as well not bother turning up. And it turns out the press were right, as Gary Hunt gets his first 4 Karlsruhe goals, Zivkovic would get 2, Di Benedetto scored a penalty, and Ventura got on the score sheets as we progressed to the next round thanks to an 8-1 victory. Next up, the real football would begin as it was time for my Bundesliga debut against Union Berlin. The game did not start the way I would have wanted as we conceded a goal after just 3 minutes. But then the fight back was on as Di Benedetto drew us level on 27 minutes before Gary Hunt gave us a 2-1 lead. Sadly for us, that lead would be short-lived as Berlin equalised 2 minutes later. This set up a brilliant finish to the game as both teams went for it. Luckily for me, it was Robin Huser who scored next, and when Hunt bagged a 4th, the first 3 points in the Bundesliga were confirmed. After the ecstasy of getting that first Bundesliga win on the board, I pushed on into the season, hungry for more. And it wouldn't take long as we record a second Bundesliga win in a row against Hanover thanks to goals from Ambuila and Zivkovic. With 6 points from 6, our first test of the season came at the hands of Leverkusen, who beat us 2-0. Following on from that, we would take a point from Schalke in a game which we really should have won. 3 valuable points on the road at Hoffenheim thanks to a Robin Huser goal. A 3-1 victory at home against Köln thanks to goals from Ambuila and Zivkovic, before a trip to Dortmund sees us suffer our second defeat of the season as we would go down 3-1. By the time we had completed match day 10, the Bundesliga table would look like this. We are currently sat in 5th place in the table as we rack up 19 points from our first 10 games. Considering the board wanted us to avoid the relegation playoffs, it's a relief to be 16 points ahead of the drop zone already. Jovan Zivkovic has hit the ground running at the club as he has 10 goals from 12 games in all competitions. Gary Hunt has had a slower start in the Bundesliga, but match by match he's finding his feet. Up next would be the 3rd round of the DFB Pokal as we begin to eye up a cup run. We were handed a tough draw though as we welcome Eintracht Frankfurt to the Bank Wildpark Stadium. Despite the media not giving us much chance and the board expecting defeat, we would actually turn in our best performance of the season so far, as goals from Pagis, Karaman, Hoysa, Di Benedetto, Herald and Hunt would see us through to the next round with a 6-1 victory. Back in league action, we would pick up 3 points against Augsburg, record a 2-0 victory against Wolfsburg, before our craziest game of the season so far saw a narrow defeat in a brilliant performance at the Allianz Arena. After putting so much effort into our performance at the Allianz, we were flat next time out. We lost 3-0 against Freiburg. Luckily for us though, we would bounce back next time out as we beat Bochum away from home. That means that as of the 10th of January, we would be sat 4th in the Bundesliga on 29 points from 16 games. A gap of 19 points should already clear our season's objectives, but we're looking up and not down. Jovan Zivkovic continues to impress as the club's leading goalscorer. Pablo Pagis has contributed the most assists so far. David Herald is proving to be Mr. Consistency in defence. As the January transfer window opened, there was enough money in the bank to bring in one new face. Well, it turned out to be a familiar face. Fadi Zarkalain still hadn't made the breakthrough at Dortmund and he had asked to leave. We worked out a permanent deal as we reunite with another former player. With the addition of Zarkalain giving the entire squad a boost, I pushed on into the season with a real air of optimism around the club. With the transfer window closed, we pushed on into the second half of the season with the DFB Pokal quarter-finals. We were drawn away from home at Schalke, where goals from Jovan Zivkovic and Daniel Althauser were enough for a 2-1 win and to book our place in the semi-final against Bayern Munich. The game started well as Tahir Karaman gave us the lead. Sadly though, Musiala would level from the penalty spot, and after 90 minutes it was 1-1. But Bayern would snatch 2 goals in extra time to take the win, as our cup run would end in the semi-finals. That means that we only have the league left to concentrate on. After sitting 4th in the league table in January, we would hit a tough patch of form as we suffered a 2-0 loss at home to Leverkusen. Dropped points against Schalke in a 1-1 draw. Lost 4-0 in a disappointing game against Augsburg, before we finally stopped the run with a 4-0 victory of our own against Hoffenheim, thanks to goals from Fadi Zarkalain and a hat-trick from Jovan Zivkovic. As we approached the run-in, we would beat RB Leipzig in one of our best performances of the season, draw 1-1 with Wolfsburg, and once again taste defeat against Bayern as we were completely outclassed in a 4-0 hammering. And so with the curtain coming down on the season, we will end up finishing in a fantastic 6th place in the Bundesliga. It truly was a fantastic campaign considering it was my first time managing in a top 5 top flight European league. Not only would I smash the objective of not being in the relegation playoffs, I would lead the team to 60 points from 34 games and a place in the Europa Conference League. Jovan Zivkovic would have a great first season at the club as he scored 13 league goals. Gary Hunt found the step up to the Bundesliga a bit challenging. David Herald's assists played a big role in our attacking threat, and he would also be the team's highest rated player with a 7.55 across the season. As I begin to look forward to next season, the club's balance was healthy as we look to have a transfer budget of around £5 million, which once again will be invested in adding numbers to our small squad. Another season is in the books, and although it didn't yield any trophies, I was excited about the prospects of leading my team into European competition next season.